All right. Beautiful, beautiful star family. My Christic star family. I am so honored to be sharing this transmission today. There is a lot of energy that is moving. And since our last transmission that we did a little over a week ago, we did a transmission talking about what's happening now with the J seals and the hulls of Amente. And so that was massive. That was really kind of more of a current update to energies that were happening. And as we get to tap into that vibrational energy, there's so much more to it. There's so much more to really understanding what are the J seals, what are these grids. When we look at seals, we can know that seals are designed to cap something, kind of like cover something, block something, keep something from either going in or out, to seal something out or to seal something in, right? So today, is a bit of in a download that we're going to be going over what we're going to look at as our galactic history. So this is not going to be looking so much at our current timeline. Again, if you haven't gotten to see what that video was, I'd invite you to go back and check out again that video. I can put the link in below after this uploads, which is just going to be what is happening now with the J seals and the holes of Amenti. And really what that is saying that the trumpets, if you will, which we'll look at what that is, but the trumpets or the technologies that trigger the J seals within our template. So within our axotonal lines of our body and within the axotonal lines of the planetary body, the technologies that instigate those are shutting down through chevrons or frequencies that are coming in that are disabling and dismantling those technologies. So within that, this is really positive for us right now in the sense that we have a lot more ability to begin to have sovereignty. Just, if you don't make it through watching all of this video, I want to just give you kind of a summary of what we're going to be looking at. Um, we're going to be going over to the histories of what are the galactic wars that have been going on here, but primarily to understand that the J seals and any of the seals, there's multiple kinds of seals that have been embedded and implanted primarily within our crystalline template or our DNA. And what this is these are repressions within our divine angelic template that keep us blocked in our third eye, are shut down in our fifth chakra with our communication to the interdimensionals, or the seals keep us feeling really limited in unable to really project out our consciousness and think bigger. They're really designed to dumb us down, keep us simple, keep us easy to program, easy to follow the rules, easy to be the slave or the servant. And as these are coming offline, the reason why I really want to dive into this information again is because even though the technologies which have been instigating these seals within our body are being shut down from being effective anymore, in order for the stellar activation cycles or the halls of Amenti to begin to embed and come back down into the earth. And this is, again, if you want to go and listen to the live reads we did with the Voyagers, that's really what those stories were all about, is the battles that have been taking place with our guardian races versus the intruder races. And so we're going to summarize this a little bit again today, but we want to know that even though those technologies are shutting down, we still have that hardware, if you will. We're going to look at it, we're just going to call it hardware. It's not necessarily a hardware, but we still have that those seals within our system. So what we're wanting to do is to understand all of this better so that we can go in there, dismantle it, clear it out, um, begin to really take our sovereignty to the next level with this information. So within that, let me just go ahead and take a pause here. I just want to say thank you guys for joining in. By all means, if you find this information inspiring in any way, I know we do talk about things that a lot of times are like, whew, I don't even know what you said, but I'll figure it out. I get that feedback a lot, I'll be honest with you. I hear from a lot of you. I love your videos. I don't understand everything you're saying. But again, my hope is to somehow translate some really difficult topics into ways that it becomes more easy for us to understand. And please, by all means, it really means a lot to read your comments, feel your support, have your connection within the Telegram, and within the Soul Circle community. So I love you guys so much. So to my Christar family, saying hello to Kid Flash, Beth. Love you, sweetheart. Evelyn, hello, beautiful. So happy you're here. Elizabeth, always so much love, giving you a huge hug, holding that energy grid. Nancy, Robin, hello, sweetheart. Jennifer, Lula, so saying so much love to Natalie. Thank you for sharing that with me. Shelly, Jen, I'm so happy you so much love seeing everybody, just saying hello to everybody. Hello, Kendrick, the light bringer. So much love to Danielle. Brian, woohoo, heck yeah, love the info. Love it. Love you, Brian. That's awesome. Steven, so much love. Katie and Darlene. Oh, so much love, you guys. So within this, I do want to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there, and that is that I really rushed through this PowerPoint. It's not as complete as I wish it was for you guys. So within that, we're just going to play. We're going to be organic. I'm going to do my best to slow down. I know I do talk a little fast sometimes. Hello, Sunny. Oh, aloha. And Sanis, so wonderful. I'm new, but in the right place. Honey, I am so happy you are here. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to do my best to slow down a little bit, just to have some fun with this information with you guys. We're going to be going through PowerPoints, but I'm also going to be showing you references that you can look at yourself within the Voyagers book material. This is primarily Voyagers 2 by Ashiana Dean. And then also within the energetic synthesis, the Ascension Glossary, primarily as a resource to be able to look at. And let's go ahead and dive right in. Today, we're going to be diving into the J seals and primarily the galactic wars over the grids of Earth, which actually led to the J seals as part of our program that we have been dealing with for primarily about close to the last 30,000 years, roughly within there. So within that, let's go ahead and just go ahead and dive right in. So we're looking again primarily at something that is going to be called the APIN system. Oops, there we go. That's what I wanted. And I've actually nicknamed this the Gang Wars of the Heavens. And honestly, as we get to go through this, you're going to see that in some ways, this really has been kind of like this gang war. And I'm just going to plant this idea within your minds as you listen to this, as we listen to what are the APIN systems. We're going to go into detail as to what they are and what some of them are. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's a lot of history to go through, a lot of material, but when you get to see this, you're going to see that every single APIN system is visible or kind of imprinted upon the Earth grid in the representation of the guardian or the intruder race that has stamped it or placed it on the planet. So, just a quick insight. There's one we're going to be looking at, which is the White Lion APIN system, and it's going to be very much in the shape of a white lion, very much in the shape, honestly, as the Sphinx. So it's going to show that when you see it, has it's overlaid over the earth, it's kind of got a stamp of that you could see it as a white lion. And really, we're going to get to see as each of these systems have been put into place, each one is really an interdimensional or some guardian, some intruder races that have been putting their stamp on Earth. Basically, that Earth has been fought over. Earth has been in the middle of a very massive interplanetary and an intergalactic war. It's really more of an interdimensional galactic war. And so when you get to see this, we're going to get to understand that there is no linear answers to a lot of the questions we have of like, why is the Earth so crazy? Why are there so many wars? Why would people not choose the Christic forces? Why would people choose to hurt each other? Hopefully, we're going to get to answer that a little bit more today and just get to dive into why we have been dealing with some of the things that we have been dealing with. So the very first thing we want to look at is what are APIN systems? If you read any of the materials from energetic synthesis or the Voyager's books, you're going to see this acronym here, APIN. There's also an LPIN, and we're going to differentiate between these two energies. The APIN is called an Atlantean Pylon Implant Network System. Okay, so the APIN stands for Atlantean and then Pylon Implant Network System. So basically, these APIN or LPIN systems are places where massive grids have been activated by crystalline technologies. So these are advanced crystalline technologies that create networks on a galactic level by placing what can be seen as like microchips or crystals into these nodal points or intersecting places. And these intersections are really the intersecting axitonial lines and ley lines on the planet. So the verticals and the horizontals, kind of like a grid. And at these very specific grid point intersections, within that, there will be what you'll see is these stamps or these designs that represent which guardians are actually helping the system. Now, what I want to say first and foremost, because we're going to see that there are systems that have been used positively, we're going to see that there are systems that have been used negatively, and we are going to see that there are systems that have been used positively and then hijacked and then used negatively. So what we're really starting to see now currently in our current timeline, as we're doing this recording in 2024, we are seeing that now even the ones that were hijacked negatively, such as the Dove grid, which runs the J seals and the Jehovian seals, is actually one of the ones where we are shutting it down so that we can get back to being in touch with the true organic grid system on the planet and activate that again. So within this APIN systems, so the APIN systems, they're really massive global grid networks, and they're very strategically placed so that when they are in alignment, they create kind of conduits of energy that basically facilitates stargates, ley lines, the axitonial line systems in Earth's organic Templar system. Okay, so these are advanced crystal-based technologies of the Christics, and they will place these in planetary systems. So I want to take a pause in here for a minute because there's a lot of you that I've done galactic starseed readings for. And you may have a memory or whether you've had a galactic reading or not, you may have a memory or just to kind of embrace this idea that there are advanced races that when they are developing a solar system, that there are specialized teams, that it would be their scientific specialty to actually go into a solar system and begin to map out what are the cycles, what are the orbits, what are the gravitational fields, are the planetary systems orbiting in a way that is catastrophic, or can they be corrected so that they can actually stabilize, meaning stabilize the polar north and south poles in order for there to be more of an even spin within the planetary cycle so that there's less earthquakes, less volcanoes, cataclysms, um, plate tectonic shifting on the planet. So really, these crystalline technologies, they've been used all over the universe in many, many solar systems, many, many planetary systems that were really facilitated by these advanced guardian races to begin to use these advanced planetary um, mechanics to go in and to start to create them to be living systems, to begin to seed beings, plants, animals, creation, evolution. So really, they are a technology that helps to prevent cataclysms. They're really used for a lot of ascension purposes, because what they do is they start to bring a planetary body online or into consciousness. So we are aware of planet Earth as being a conscious being. We speak to her as a conscious being. We know her as her higher vibration as Tara, even higher vibration as Gaia, all the way into the Aurora Earth template. But we want to recognize that when even solar systems are seeded, in the great cycles of creation, that many times a planetary body doesn't even have consciousness. So it is not able to house or hold. So it's actually when the life forms begin to grow, evolve, and advance upon the planetary body, then the living beings upon the planet which are using the body of the planet, just like you and I have a body right now that belongs to Earth Mother, but because our consciousness is interfaced with it, we are the conduits that are elevating the conscious evolution upon this planet. We are the ascension. We are the Voyagers creating the ascension, right? So just a thumbs up if that makes sense for you guys within this, because this is key. This is key for us to understand that this is something that is done over billions of years. It's not uncommon to go into solar systems, planetary systems, to put in these advanced crystalline systems to help stabilize. And basically, it's these massive crystalline structures that are like microchips that are programmed with particular levels of consciousness so that the life forms upon the planet can begin to tune to the Christic consciousness and begin to evolve into ascension. Okay. They really help not only stabilize the planet and keep it from going into massive cataclysms, which kill the life forms upon the planet, but they were used for Stargate travel, because wherever these things are, thank you, Brian, wherever these things are, wherever these nodal points are, they create doorways, they create access points in and out. An interdimensional thing that I think we are going to get far more aware of, especially as time progresses. I say within the next 10 years, our awareness of portals as doorways is going to really advance. And I even would invite you guys, um, I don't know if I'll get the name of the book right. It might be the book called The Etheric Crystal. Again, it is by Radu Senemar, and I believe it's book 6 or 7 in the series, the Transylvanian Sunrise series. And there is a great section in, I think it's that book. It's either that one or the one before it, that really goes into detail of these portals on the planet that have been guarded by different beings upon the planet, inner earth beings primarily, that have been guarding the inner earth and the surface earth access points. So we're going to see that from the Voyager's perspective, or this Keylontic perspective. Those are called Q sites. So Q sites are in the inner earth, and then the stargates are on the surface earth. So they assist with stargate travel. They assist with the evolution of consciousness, the races, the species, and all created life forms upon the planet. So that is for the ascension. They help to create global free energy systems. So there's a huge buzz on the planet, and I'm not bringing this up as a one way or another opinion about it, but it's just a isn't that interesting kind of thought. And that is, a lot of people are getting really curious about the Tartarian civilizations, or seeing a lot of buildings, or recognizing that cities have been built on top of cities, have been built on top of cities, and that very, very ancient structures on the planet, even if we just go to the basic ones that we know, like the pyramids in Egypt and even the Bosnian pyramids, that we know that these structures have the ability to harness energy, that they really do have an ability to not only be Stargate centers and access points for other star systems here to Earth, but they actually do have the ability to capture and harness the free energy that's floating all through our atmosphere, and to be able to utilize that energy to create power for the civilizations, the cities, the people, and all the advanced technologies. The primary thing is the climate stabilization. We want to see this not as some massive thing, but really kind of understanding that climate stabilization is nothing new. This is something that even if you talk with, the earth shamans of any culture and any continent around the earth, there's always, the weather, the elemental shamans, the spirit speak to the tornadoes and the rain and the clouds and all of these things, because these are not new technologies. When the beings from specifically the Pleiadian systems, and then we have our Hathors coming to the Earth plane as guardian teachers to this planetary system, what they were really teaching was, how do we as the living beings have a direct effect on the weather, the climate, and the energy of the system of our planet based on our energy, our consciousness, and the mood or the emotions that we are expressing within the collective sphere of the planet. So climate stabilization came not only in a sense of the higher law of one learning of how to manage our own template, our emotions, our thoughts, and our higher consciousness. So again, that goes back to the evolution, but it also was really about understanding how to work with the massive consciousness fields of the elementals. And we would see that the elementals, even if we want to blend in a little bit of the stellar nations in here, specifically if you've gotten an opportunity to see one of the last reports about, the energy around the dragons and the great felines that we are balancing right now, we want to recognize that the ancient dragons, the great dragons, truly are the keepers of the templates of the elementals, such as the dragons of earth, of air, of fire, of water, the stabilizers. They are the ones that really run the currents or the currencies that stabilize planetary systems through the ley lines and the axitonial lines. I love this. I got to keep moving this. The telegram is blowing up. So just for everybody out there, I'm sorry I haven't been able to be on the telegram recently, and I will get to it, I promise. So I'm going to actually flip to another page here, and we're actually going to see, I want to tap into an energy of the wall in time. So we're going to look at the APIN systems, but I want to tap into a little bit about now the history of them. Now that we know what they are, why are they so important? We're also going to be able to see that the way that they were implanted here onto the earth was actually very, very, very specific. Okay. They were brought in at a particular time about 5.5 million years ago, primarily corresponding to the electric wars. Now I'm going to flip over to the Voyagers really quick, and let me just click right over here. This is where we get to slow down. So this is actually coming from page 21 in Voyagers 2. And so we're going to see in here, if you wanted to read more about it, this is why I want to flip back and you guys some visuals so that you can look at some of the stuff. This is stuff we read in the Voyagers books. We went through this material. And what we were really talking about here was the seal of Palliador, the pole tilt, the quick freeze, the sphere of Amenti placed in D4, the first major Earth flood 5.5 million years ago, the wall in time. So what we want to look at is that the summary here is what we wanted to touch into. that the wall in time, just as a quick summary, the wall in time is a dimensional blend project, and the wall in time was put in place in order to stop a massive agenda from the intruder races who were attempting to harness and lock in the gravitational field. I would say not only of Earth, but honestly, this entire solar system, because they were really creating a lot of gravitational wormholes and fields even through the backside of the sun. So the black sun. And when we look at this, the dimensional blend project really was an attempt from the phantom matrix to utilize really advanced and very anti-christic, very detrimental, but basically full-on catastrophic technologies that harness in an entire system and then basically tractor beam it, as if, honestly, the image that comes to my mind, you guys, is think about a lot of the UFO pictures that people have out there with that little flying saucer and the little beam that goes down and the little cow that's getting floated away and the abduction of the cow. Well, that tractor beam would be really, really kind of a great representation of this technology, of this blending system. So what the dimensional blend was an attempt to override the frequencies of this organic system with the frequencies of the parallel or the phantom Earth system. And what that was is a way to basically go in there and distort all of the sacred uh, bands between the dimensions, which allow creations to exist within each of the dimensional bands. And through a blending project, it would do a mind wipe. So memory wipe, mind wipe technologies that would create amnesia through all of the blending so that whatever existed within those zones would become easy to really kind of capture, like a little cow floating off in the tractor beam, and get pulled into that system, and then we would get overrun with the phantom Earth timelines, and then our reality would be their reality. They wanted to basically do a holographic insert over our reality of their reality so that we would start to exist within their rules, their world, their ways, so they could literally just feed off of us. So the Guardians had to put something in place called a wall in time. And what that was is it was basically a net or a fence that would block off their abilities to continue to blend any of these energies. So I'm going to read some of this right here. Within this, it says, as a result of the damage from the electric wars, the Elohim had to place the sphere of Amenti in D4, creating a fourth dimensional frequency block within the second and third DNA strands, sealing root races 3 and 4 out of their morphogenetic field soul matrices and creating a buildup of soul fragments in D2, D3, and D4 that would have to integrate into root race 5 consciousness. So let me just pause right there. So this is a little bit of a recap, but we remember that the electric wars are basically the Pleiadian wars. It was the Anu invasions into the Pleiadian systems where they basically yet again used advanced technologies which harnessed the core energy of the Taran template. And within that, it basically exploded it. It really created that cataclysm that happened there. So that cataclysm was the primary call to action to begin to put these APIN systems into place, into the Earth grid, because remember, it got sharded off. It's like it got whirled out of its dimensional frequency, got cut off from where it was meant to be in connection with creation and consciousness. And not only that, what do we have through this having to create the seal? What do we got? We got a bunch of the souls that got caught up in this drama. Now stuck or lost or soul fragmented. Think of it as like ancestors that have died in a traumatic way that are kind of stuck in those horrific crystalline memories as soul fragments. That even if they incarnate into life cycles, it's like they're just reliving those nightmares all over again. Now, I think if you and I really look at a lot of the history of Earth history just looks like a massive recycling of reincarnation over and over and over again, of just reliving crystallized nightmares of really what came from these electric wars. So that's kind of a big deal within there. Now, within this, we know that this is where a lot of the rescue missions started to come into play, where there was going to have to be slow incarnational cycles and evolution of these root races in order to evolve the consciousness out and get them back out on a stellar activation cycle, in order for all the lost souls within the space, if you will, to be able to rehabilitate through the sphere of Amenti. I'm not going to go into detail about the sphere of Amenti. By all means, please, if you want to recap on that, we did talk about it a little bit in the last video of what's happening with the J Seals now. We'll probably talk about it again, but I did an entire video on the Paladorian Covenant and the Paladorian races, which is the halls of Amenti. It's a consciousness sphere. So within this, we wanted to just look at this war that went on 5,500,000 years ago. This was really, again, it manifested as an extra D-force frequency pattern within the second and third DNA strands, a blockage within the second and third chakras through which their energies could only merge through the fourth chakra, as an energetic barrier between the frequencies of the second, third, and fourth dimensions within the bioenergetic auric field. This created separation between the emotional, the mental, and the astral body identity aspects. Okay. I just wanted to reread that again because this is key. This is the major time in our consciousness field where we used to really be a whole 12-stranded template. We used to really be full awareness and consciousness. But at this particular sealing and distortion time, we had no ability to now connect between our bodies. Now, even now, they feel so separate. It's kind of like we have to go like, okay, let's get in touch with our emotions. Let's pay attention to our mental body. Oh, let's really now attune to our astral body. They are so segregated from each other, even now as the Christic races work through them. We have to employ mass mindfulness to really begin to utilize those energies as a whole. So now as we come back in, we're going to just now get to see a little bit more. I want to now say there's Atlantean pylon implant networks and there are Lemurian pylon implant networks. Okay, so they have a little bit of a different purpose, and primarily they protect different grid lines on the planet, but together they create like a protective web or a net over the planet. Now, I'm just gonna have to ask you guys to bear with me with some of this because it is a lot of information and I don't have a lot of pretty pictures to hold your guys' attention through this. So I love you guys. Thanks for writing this with me. I want to just kind of check in. So now let's look at this. The planetary grid networks were created by the founder guardian races of the threefold founder flame. So this particular information now is coming from the Ascension Glossary. And we get to see that the Orifim energy, which is what the indigo race lines are, the descendants of, the children of, they are the crystalline instruction sets that connect us to the Godhead and the universal time matrix. So these founder guardian races really utilize these APINs when the primary two that were implanted upon the earth were called the Great White Lion and the Golden Eagle Grid. Okay. And their job was to reinforce the original God seed morphogenetic fields that support the crystalline matrix of the original double or the diamond sun DNA. Okay, so that's really, if we can just kind of look at it like that, they are basically a stabilizing energy system that gets put into a planetary body so that as the guardians direct frequencies into them, those frequencies help stabilize and align a planetary system so that it can increase in consciousness and hold a more um, plugged in or a crystalline or aligned system to the god seed. Now, these are technologies that are really kind of like embedding computer microchips into the earth. I'm going to say this a few times. And they were designed in the shapes of the creatures based upon the genetics, and so the extra dimensionals could easily identify them from space. Now, I want to really give an insight to this. So we have to step into their point of view, right? We're talking about Elohai beings. We're talking about uh fourth dimensional beings. We're talking about not fourth dimensional, but um we're talking about 4D. So the fourth dimensional, so we're the fourth harmonic universe beings. Let me just kind of get this clear because I get excited sometimes. The fourth harmonic universe beings, we're talking about beings that are running at 10, 11, 12 dimensional spectrums, okay? So these are going to be the beings that are connected really primarily to the stargates 10, 11, and 12, the Lyran stargates. These are going to be connecting all the way back to the Lyran, and also obviously the Lyran Wars, which is where all of this drama originally started. And from that level, these are massive gestalts of consciousness. These are light beings. These are beings that don't take on form of material matter in the same way that we do. And so as they imagine they're floating past or checking in or remote viewing in to the Earth planetary grid, they don't see it the way we see it. They're not going to see it as a material planetary sphere. They're looking at it from an energetic level. And wherever the APIN system is plugged in, it actually shines a little bit brighter. Okay, so it's kind of like looking at the earth from above as at nighttime when you can see a city and all the houses and all the lights are on, and then if say you go somewhere where it's more in the country where there is nothing plugged in on a grid there and it looks dark, that's what they're reading. But from their vantage point, when they look down and they look down at one of these networks, it will hold like a tag. This is why I was calling it the gang wars, right? It's like they're tagging. So what it looks like, they'll be able to sit and go like, oh, the Elohai are protecting the system. Wonderful. So they would see the white lion network on the planet and they would go, oh, we know who's influencing that planet and who's taking care of it and who's being a guardian of it. They would see the golden eagle grid and they would recognize who's protecting that system, what avian or seraphim lines are protecting that system, and they would go like, oh, this is where they're helping to stabilize this planet. And so it would be like a beacon to all the extraterrestrials out there of who was on the planet, who was guarding the planet, and who they would have to contend to if they were wanting to overtake that planet. Now, we're going to start to look at some of these intruder races and how they've been influencing things. But what we want to really recognize is this statement here on the right hand side, and that is hands down. Even though there's going to be so many of these intruder races that we're going to be looking at, hands down, there are infinitely more guardian forces than there are anti-Christic forces out there. Now, we do know that the anti-Christics don't play by the rules. They aren't adhering to the law of one. So a lot of times we spend a lot of time as a guardian race cleaning up things, taking care of things, because obviously we're not going to act against divine law. And this is just something we're going to have to kind of see. There is obviously the energies of free will within creation, and this obviously makes it a little bit more tricky with some of the dramas that we deal with. So let's go ahead and dive into the white lion and the golden eagle. Now, the first APINs, again, we know through the electric wars and the creating of the wall in time, the first APIN then were created here on the earth in races. Now, when we look at this energy, we want to know, and I have it a little blended here, but the Leonine races created the Great White Lion grid, and they're primarily from Sirius B. They are primarily the Leonine races that are holding the Elohai template from Lyra and enacting at a second harmonic universe and third harmonic universe level as guardianship roles for the Christos mission. And then we have avian races that created its companion of the Golden Eagle grid. We're going to see that these beings are connected to Procyon, to Alcyone. And we're going to see that as they are connected to these vibrational energies, they've been holding a harmony, a companionship. So we had these APINs weaved upon the planet in order to protect and hold the planetary grids together out of that catastrophe. It's kind of like they quickly put a net in it to hold it together, to hold it to place so that it could begin to rehabilitate through the seeded race lines as the tribes began to seed in and repair it. Again, I'm going to say this again. I think I used this metaphor a few times before, but I really feel like if we can think of ourselves kind of like the white blood cells in our ecosystem of our body, that the white blood cells are working from the inside of the body. They're in there. They're dealing with the disease. They're helping to create, say, the blood clots and to heal the rips and the tears in the places that need to heal and bring in that repair and healing. So, in a lot of ways, we got the guardian races that can kind of put the band-aid around the outside, but then we become like the healing of the immune system from the inside that begins to rehabilitate the system and reaccelerate the consciousness. And so, in a lot of ways, it's not much different than that. As above, so below. We are dealing with an invasion of parasites and bacterias and viruses. And our job is to actually find the frequencies and find the ways to begin to heal that energy out. And these energy grids on our planet are organic crystic grids are the answer. They really do have healing capabilities for us. So I'm not going to read all of this, but I have it here so that you guys can be checking this out as you're listening to me. And what we're this is just saying again that they are here to reinforce and support creation, support the blueprints of creation. And we're going to look, this is a bit of a summary here, and that is that there are beneficial guardian networks on the planet. And the original two were the Great White Lion and the Golden Eagle grid. Okay. And after that, we're going to see that there were other grids that were put into place. There was the Sacred Blue Cow grid. There was the Four Pillars of Man grid, which was a Lemurian grid. And within that, we're going to see that even the Golden Eagle grid and the Sacred Blue Cow grid went through a massive undertaking of losing hold from the Guardian forces and being overtaken. They were hijacked. And when these hijacks take place, these intruder races basically come in and immediately distort our DNA and our genetics within our body to level us down again, make us not question things, to really limit our body. And primarily, one of the key things when the intruder races come in is they attack our life cycles of our body, meaning that they amplify the aging process or accelerate the death seals within the body, which then create it so that our bodies will die, that we don't have long enough life cycles to really accelerate our consciousness in the way that we used to. So before this manipulation. So, whoop, wrong way. So let's go ahead and take a peek at this. Now, the Elohai, Elohim, are the founders of Aramatena Lyra. So that's the 12th Stargate. We want to really talk about the 12th Stargate because the 12th Stargate, as it attunes to the Earth here, and I don't know if it'll, oh, yay, it lets me amplify this. Awesome, you guys. So as you can see, the heart of the lion is in the south of France, of Montsegur, France. Here, this is Stargate 12. It has a pairing within Kauai, Hawaii. Now, this is going to be key as we look at the wars that have taken place on Earth. So we are going to know that the white lion is the guardian of the verticals, okay? It's the protector of the Earth's 12 vertical axitonial lines. And let me, I'll come back to this page. I want you guys to have this visual in your mind. And that is the axitonial lines in the body, okay? So, whoops, back again. Come on. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to touch it. Okay, this image on the right-hand side. These are the 12 axitonial lines on the body. We have the left side, the right side. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 fingers, 5 toes, all of that, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 10. And then we have 2 intertwining through the Shoshuna channel or the central channel of our body, which is 11 and 12. Okay, so when we think of the verticals, when we think of this energy, we're also really looking at these axitonial lines. These axitonial lines are going to be key for us. As you can see, we're over here on the J SEALs slide, because the J SEAL, just to cut ahead for you guys, exists on axitonial line 7 on the left hand side of the body. So it exists on the left and axitonial line for us, as well as on the planetary body. So let's come back here. So we have the protector of the Earth, the 12 vertical axitonial lines. So when activated, the billions of minute crystal pylon implant microchips of this guardian energy, and those of the golden eagle apen companion, they form a scalar field that holds the Earth's fragmented planetary shields together during the stellar activation cycles to avert pole shift. So we hear a lot, especially on the particular YouTube channel that talks about the solar flares, the X flares, the M class flares, and there's one channel that you know, the information is amazing. It does tend to lean towards pole shift perspective, but I do not agree with the pole shift perspective, because I know that is exactly why we are here. It is the guardian purpose of why we are here, is to avert pole shift and prevent Earth from being drawn into the phantom matrix black hole system. That was what pole shift would do. Now, within this, as we get to look at this, one more recap for you guys, and just to repetition, get this. Why would the Earth get torn apart during a stellar activation cycle? A stellar activation cycle is when the gates and the bands open up all the way from the Andromedan mother galaxy, and the hall or the sphere of Amenti begins its descent. And its descent takes place within a specific amount of time, which I don't have that time in the top of my brain right now, but it takes a significant amount of years. It's quite a significant amount of time. And as this time happens, as it moves down the bands closer and closer to closer, the closer that the sphere of Amenti gets to the Earth field, if we have not done the work appropriate to prepare our bodies, the Earth body, and the field of the Earth around around us, to actually house that amount of frequency of energy, the connection of the sphere of Amenti to even the bands of, say, the Van Allen belt coming in, would literally begin to create massive catastrophes upon the planet, such as earthquakes, cataclysms, volcanoes, all of these things, which would lead to literally space dust of this planetary system, because we have to be able to hold the frequencies, or else those frequencies coming from the Andromedan Mother Galaxy would literally annihilate this earthly planet. So this is why it's such a big deal. We seed in cycles. So for all of my indigo family out there, all of my Christic family, I hear you. I feel you. I see you. I know. We missed the last one. There was supposed to be an activation in 2012. That didn't work. There was supposed to be an activation back in the Atlantean times. We were really working on it. All of the massacres, the Ioni massacres, all of the Essene massacres, all of that was just the annihilation of that. We missed our stellar activation cycle. So yes, I get it. There's so many of us here on the planet that feels like I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just tired of it. What's the point of it? I want to give up. Um, I don't belong here. I don't feel like I fit in, all of these different things. But the underlining energy for so many is just, I'm tired. I'm so tired. And it's a lot of energy that each of you have been holding for so many cycles, much longer than was ever intended. But this moment, now, here, is our literal cycle. And they are saying, as we have talked about, again, I invite you just to go back with what's happening with the J seals and the hulls of Amenti. They have said the third seeding of the angelic human race line, it's either going to work or it's not. We're not doing a fourth. Period. Bottom line, the guardians and all the agreed, guardian Christic councils during the time of the seeding of the third fully acknowledged that it would be the final one. Well, what does that mean for us? That means for us that we're utilizing the stellar activation cycle that is happening right now. We are in it, you guys. That this is our time to get our spark back in attunement to the crystalline rivers, so that we can utilize this energy to begin to use the stargates. Not just the stargates, we're using host, Aquari host, and uh guardian Christic forces to help host us back out of this system. And so really that is us coming in alignment to these energies, so that we can realize what has been going on, so we can make the conscious choice to not go through this again. Now, within this, we want to know that this particular white lion, I wanted to highlight again this heart over here, because we know that it is a representation of the Sphinx in Egypt. And within this, when the wars were really starting to take place, a lot of the Ani resistance and the different invasion timelines here upon the earth, they really attacked the great white lion grid. Okay. And primarily where they attacked it was right in the heart. Not only did they want to deface it, the Sphinx put a different face on it. They wanted to deface it and take away the guardian leonine representation off of it, but they wanted to create a cut in the heart. Now, for those of you that are aware of the different timeline wars, France holds the signatures of the Templar Wars, the Cathar massacres. We're looking at also, this is the Essene massacres. This is connected to Kauai, Hawaii. So this is also connected to the timeline of the Ayani massacres. So what this is a complete strategic annihilation plan of the root races that held the stellar codes of the guardian races upon the earth, and they attacked them in the heart in order to cripple this energy upon the planet, to keep it from being the protector energy that it could be. I know lots of you that I've done sessions with, that I've connected with, that have massive connections to France, the Hawaiian Islands, with healing this energy. Many of you that are in France or are called to France, some of you that want to go there, some of you that are trying to get away from there because you're tired of holding that energy. This is, even the Magdalene lineage lines, as far as the divine feminine Magdalene lineage lines, and the Maries, who held the sacred bloodlines of the cosmic Christic birthers that were really strategically annihilated or force bred in order to bring hybrid races into the planet. So I want to just bring that energy for you guys so that as you hear this, you can begin to clear some of these energies. Now, we know again, yes, that the heart is located within France. And as we do this, that this sacrifice was taken during the or this really kind of raiding that happened 208 BC to 16 BC. It was a massive uh, kind of war that took place over an extensive amount of time. And what we want to realize is that the beings that are enacting these wars, many of them are coming from other dimensional planes. So time doesn't work for them the way it works for us. It seems like a long time here, but they have the advantage of longer lifespans. Um, and the ability to actually put war strategies into place that might play out over thousands of years for us, so we don't even have a memory of it or why or what is going on, but for them it's very much in alignment. And that's what we need to remember as far as the things that are going on the planet right now. The blatant attacks on the genetic modifications of our food, our waters, the air we're breathing, the synthetic poisons that are being put in our clothing so that it primarily rubs on our most vulnerable places so that it absorbs into our body with these forever chemicals and things like this. We want to recognize this isn't stuff they just thought up last Thursday. Okay? These these beings, these intruder races have been doing this for millions of years. And we are the ones that have been suppressed by these J seals. So we have been oblivious that any of this was happening. And now, guess what? Band-aids are getting ripped off, and we're having the opportunity to see clearly. And as they get cleared, we want to clear the rest of the seals out of our body so that it's just allowing our organic system to connect back to these original guardian grid lines again so that we can really help run the D12 frequencies on the planet. Now, I want to say, why was this so important, the cutting of the heart? This might be a little bit of a sidetrack, but it's still important because we know that the organic 12 tree grid of life was replaced by the inorganic 10 tree sphere of life, right? And as we recognize this, this is a representation of the Dracon energies and primarily the race lines who were only activated to 10 strands of DNA, who did not have access. So when they cut out the heart of the lion, what they were doing was cutting our access. And they were overtaking the 10th Stargate at the same time. So basically, all the systems on Earth would start to run on a base 10, or that 10 sphere tree of life, cutting off 11 and 12 from our access of being able to utilize it. Whereas then, usually, dark magics were being used through the 11th dimensional sphere by Luciferic beings who were harnessing that distorted kind of band of energy to really do high level alchemy magic upon the beings of Earth to control this planetary system. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Um, you guys, just I'm gonna check in with the chat again. I know we're, we're only like on slide 5, you guys. And just see how are you guys doing? Yes, Elizabeth, I love you. You keep, thank you for always filling in the names that don't always come to the top of my head. Uh yes. She has great info, Voyagers too. Yes. So just so much love to you guys. So I'm hoping if you guys want to give me some smiley faces or some thumbs up, and just let me know if this is making sense so far. If you're feeling it in your body, if you're feeling it in your memories or your core. I'm seeing over here, yes, I don't want to go back. Yes, I love you, sweetheart. I know you are one of the template holders in France for sure, and it is a lot of energy to heal a lot of that cathar. Love what you're sharing. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for that. So now let's dive into the Golden Eagle grid. This one has a lot more of a heartbreaking story to it, because the or sorry, the White Lion grid, the Leonine energy, it has a bit of a distortion to it, where it's gotten crippled a little bit, where it's not fully activated, and it's really going through a lot of repair currently. And it has been going through a lot of repair, honestly, since probably 2000, 16, 17 in there, and really kind of amping up as we go. So, 9 years of it. The Eagle grid, on the other hand, you can see, I want you to see that it's called the Golden Eagle grid. When it gets hijacked, they want to call it the White Eagle grid. And one of the representations of this is to recognize that when you see a lot of the countries that utilize the eagle as one of their country symbols, and I live in one of those countries, right? That you will actually see that they are not using the golden eagle as a representation for that nation. They are actually using the white-headed, or we call them the bald eagle, but it is an eagle with a white head. And what this is it was really a bully move. So let's look at the story here, and you're going to get to see. Basically, it's a slap in the face. It says, oh, we got your eagle, but now look at it. We're actually going to use this eagle just to always rub it in your face that your grid's not in alignment, and is kind of what it is. Um, so this golden eagle energy, this was the Seraphi, the Seraphim, our avian, our Ceres family lineage lines, right? The Ceres are the gift of the feather. They are the ones that kept bringing in the 12 feathers, the ones that tirelessly have continuously gifted that genetic code to keep boosting the ascension process upon the planet. So that was a huge storyline we looked at within the Voyagers as we went through it. And we know without a doubt that the Seraphim, the angelic race lines, literally have taken one of the hardest hits. This would be like the Michael Mary energy line, right? And all the distortions, the false Archangel Michael energy, the bastardization of that energy, kind of taking their signature and flaunting it as a phantom energy, using it to pull in the masses so that they could feed off of the energy of humanity, while the true energy was being distorted and cut off. Right. So this is the false ascended master kind of propaganda that has been so prevalent on our planet, and the false teachings. This is going to hold a lot of storyline for a lot of my Atlantean timeline holders, who have just held so much pain and trauma to the false teachings, and just the feeling of frustration of trying to fight for the law of one during the Atlantean times, and really just seeing these negative race lines just annihilated. And not only that, take advantage of the wisdom holders, trickery, deceit, using seduction and love and all of these things to actually get information, or to take the sacred teachings and then begin to just right blatantly use it, like massive con artists in a lot of ways. So the golden eagle is really very much one of the primary grids that holds the energy of what we might think of as the cedar races. So when you think of Sirius B with the Leonine energies, they are one of the contributors as the cedar races to the angelic human template. But Procyon is actually a major template holder. As is when we look at Mintaka, we're looking at the metagalactic core. Mintaka is the metagalactic core. It is the eighth, or the higher heart. So Mintaka is, again, that massive wound signature that we have of the massive galactic wars that primarily were exasperating. It's kind of the in between of the Lyran Wars and the Electric Wars in the Taurus cloud. And the Mintaka is the Metagalactic Wars. It was and tears of the division. Okay, it's kind of the timelines where we really had the inceptions of the Phantom Earth, and the Phantom uh energies beginning to pull us in. Now, Procyon is massive, it's huge, it's a major energy that is very prevalent. I feel very strongly that the Procyon Star Nation is directly here on the planet. I think they are directly here working with different different forces, that they are working in the best way they can to help support us to be better at fighting for ourselves and protecting ourselves and stepping up as a guardian race ourselves. So I'm just going to say this, I'm going to invite you guys. It's called soulbasedlife.org, and that is a blog that I work on. And on the top, you're going to see something that it's going to say starseed races, and fixed stars and starseed races. And if you click on that, I recently did an entry for Procyon, and in there I really tied it in to a lot of the information Linda Moulton Howe has been bringing through. And I'm going to say this, but I'm going to put this out as a disclaimer. I'm not saying one way or another. All I know is that I follow what the Guardians ask me to be aware of. And there's an individual that Dr. Michael Salla interviews. I don't really watch really any much of out there, but they ping me every once in a while to watch some of the conversations from an individual named JP. And I'm not here to validate or discredit. I'm not here in any one way or another. What they have told me is there's legitimate information that is coming through there. So I added some of that on there because it has something to do with some of these energies that are going on the planet from some of our guardian races. Now, that's all I'm going to say right now as far as Procyon. By all means, dive into it, because I love to kind of see it from a historical point of view, but a lot of times it can sound like a big old fairy tale. Even talking about Atlantis can be like, oh, long time ago, in a land far, far away, we had this time called Atlantis, right? And we might get triggered, we might cry, we might have emotions about it, but for all intents and purposes, it's still timelines that we are putting the pieces together for, and they can seem kind of fantastical when we talk about stargates and all of these things. But I want to bring tangible, real, current, how it's actualizing in our quantum reality now, ways for us to perceive it. And so I invite you to check out that blog on Procyon, so we can kind of get to see a little bit more. What would that look like? Real-time history. If we're talking about these wars in Atlantis and the overtaking of these stargates, what does that look like? It looks just like the wars that are happening in the Middle East right now. That's what it looks like. It's real time happening here on planet Earth. We're just getting the opportunity to see it with eyes being open to our Christic eyesight, so that we can have these abilities to see beyond the veil of what the propaganda is telling us, and we can actually see what's behind these galactic wars. So when we look at this, we got Mintaka, Procyon, and Alcyone. These are primary cedar race lines that were directly involved with creating the base hominid template for our angelic human form, and the indigo race lines, the Terranusium races that were seeded primarily in these locales as well, primarily within the Alcyone system, and primarily within harmonic universe 2, so dimensions 4, 5, 6, if you want to look at it that way. But also there were some races that were seeded all the way up into harmonic universe 3 for this same purpose. Now these beings, this grid is taking care of the horizontal ley lines. And what this was is these were the founders, and they also placed it in. Both of these got placed simultaneously 5.5 million years ago. and their purpose was to protect the Templar ley lines upon the Earth system. Okay, but we're going to kind of cut ahead a little bit. We're going to just a sneak preview. We're going to look at some stuff at 3 million years. So within that, I want to say I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and then we're going to go back. And that is jumping ahead. We're going to look at that 25,500 BC. This is huge. This is the inception of the Jehovian seals on the planet. So right here within here, if you can see in this top right hand corner, it is saying during the Lucifer rebellion of 25,500 BC, the the golden eagle APIN was overtaken by the Necromatron, Andromi, Nephilim, intruder races of Andromeda, Alpha Centauri, and Orion. Okay, so this is massive. This is going to be a time when the dove grid was put into place upon the planet, and the dove holds the Jehovian seals. And then also it is when they began to overtake the golden eagle and then represented as a white eagle in order to kind of be a slap in the face of the guardian races saying, we own it, but we're using your own graffiti tag to say this is our territory now. So I just think this is so important because these Andromi, they call them the Andromi, but basically are race lines from Andromeda. I like to use the term that there are guardian Andromedan forces and then there are Andromedan syndicates. That's another way that I just kind of like to refer. And this is also going to be important. I'm going to burst probably a few bubbles out there because Andromeda has really been seen as a benevolent constellation and a race line to be a part of. But honestly, it is one of the ones that has been most infected by the viral systems long before it reached this solar system. And we're going to actually get to see how even the Arcturians are heavily involved with the Jehovian seals. They are one of the key players with the Jehovian seals. And I also am putting the disclaimer out there that we really, especially when I say this, I have a term, the Christic Andromedans and the Andromedan Syndicate. Well, there's the Christic Arcturians, and then there's the Anu Jehovian Arcturians. Okay, so we want to differentiate. We're not throwing everyone in a bucket and then saying, oh, well, that means the Andromedans and the Arcturians are bad. What we are saying is that there are factions within each of those race lines that also participated within the anti-Christic actions and got pulled into the Phantom Matrix systems. And the Christic race lines of those beings now are the reason why, if you've heard a lot of information, say from Alex Collier and all of these things, he's never been shy about saying the reason why the Andromedans are involved with helping Earth is because they're trying to correct something they did in the past that has created ramifications for their own species. And if they don't fix it, they'll go extinct. There is that understanding that there are certain Gordian races that do help, but they are, yeah, true, they're helping also to help themselves. And I just want to we want to put it on the table to say, I know, I got it, and honestly, I don't care. We all have done everything, right? So within this, we want to recognize that no matter what we've done in creation and no matter what a race has done in creation, we all have the right to return back to the Christ. And this is the positive message. I always want to bring that back, that there is never going to be a moment that the Christ families will not welcome you home. If you truly choose it in your heart, that's really all that. It's like a parent waiting for their children to come home and just being like, whenever you're ready, I can't wait to hear about your experiences, welcome you home, help you heal, help you and support you so that you can be back and be out of that polarity. So within this, we want to recognize that we're going to be looking at the Eagle grid as a primary player and a targeting primarily on the Archangel Michael energy. So that's the Archangel Michael Mary lineage lines, that were really overrun and distorted with this white eagle um patriarchic energy that was using their energy to siphon the living life force out of the human beings of planet Earth. So I wanted to show this. This is an image from energetic synthesis. I kind of want to just put a blanket thing out there. There's a lot of images, so the majority of them are either going to be from some of the materials from some of the Keylontic works, but a lot of the really colorful ones are going to be from the Ascension Glossary. So this one I love. Lisa Renee has put this one together, and I love it because you can actually kind of see the particle and the antiparticle. And so here we have this green band of the astral plane, but this is just a really neat representation of seeing our 12 tree grid of life. And that when the distortions came through, so remember the spearing of the heart, and this is really the fall of Lyra, which is at the 10th dimension. So again, imagine the 10th dimension, this Dracon energy, this Draco energy that really doesn't have access to dimensions 11 or 12. They created a 10 tree sphere of life, tree of life. And within that, keeping all creation within that 10 sphere then keeps the energy out and unplugged from the Christic energy. So it keeps it recycling. So basically, since the 25,500 BC time of the Luciferian rebellion, the Golden Eagle APIN system has been held hostage and used to do the bidding of the Necromatron Andromi on Anunnaki forces. And we're going to see that this is all relating to the Phantom Earth that occurred during the Electric Wars. And again, the Phantom Earth is a phantom system that does not have its own living life force. So, in order to continue to survive as its own place or phantom reality, it has to find other light sources to feed off of. And honestly, it has no emotion. They have no emotion. They have no remorse. They have no care. They actually despise Christic energy. And so when you think about these kinds of beings, a lot of times it's just kind of like, I don't know, I kind of think of a mosquito. They just they just do. And I don't know. I have an opinion about mosquitoes, and I definitely don't feel that they have a soul. So we can, I do squish mosquitoes. I'll just be transparent. um, so who are the antichristics? So within this, oh, Jessica is saying white bird on the Polish flag. Very, very interesting. Yeah, yeah. Um, so within this, who are the antichristics? This is actually a picture from Voyager's 1, and there's a couple images in there. There's one called the Intruders and one called the Guardian Alliance. And so I just grabbed this picture so that we could see it. This is so we can see on the top over here Assyrian Anunnaki. You can see a little bit more of the elongated skull within here. We have the Dracon races. We're gonna have the hybrid Zephalim race lines within here, which are Zeta Grays combined. They're more of a Zeta Gray, but they overtook Rigel in the Orion system. So they're considered Zeta Gray Rigelians, but they are not the same as Rigelians that have lived there that had to actually migrate and leave Rigel because of the invasion. And where did the Rigelians go when the invasions happened? Procyon. They actually migrated to Procyon as part of a Guardian Alliance in order to get away from the wars and the invasions of these Greys. So I think that's just a neat history to kind of know within there. Um, and then Rutilla, I'm not super familiar, but she's calling these the Zetas and the Draco hybrids or the EBs, as they're known in some of the abductee kind of community. So within this, we get these intruder races. I want to just kind of mention these words because honestly, if you read the Voyagers books, it just feels like a jumble of words of like, Necromatron, Andromi, Pleiadian, Nibiruin, all of these things, Odedicron, it's just these wild words. But I want to give a little bit of a context to them so that you can understand these are the gang wars in our galactic universe. Okay. Each of these beings is kind of like fighting for territory. They have their own insignia, their own symbols. They want to put their own stamp. They want to run different things. They agree with each other, then they fight with each other. And who's caught in the middle all the time? We are, right? The Christic races are always caught in the middle of it because they're all fighting for their own personal agendas. And within that, they backstab, they renege on treaties, they make agreements and then back out of them. They will say whatever to get whatever they want, but they have no intention of doing anything unless it's in their greatest interest. And so when we understand this, we're going to realize a lot of these are hybridized races from Christic forces, right? The Anu family at the highest level is going to be coming from a Christic family. We got the Elohai, which is coming from a Christic family, right? But then the Elohim became Christic, some not Christic. So we um, Necromatron and Drami. We have the Pleiadian Nibiruin, and we're going to look at this because this is kind of considered what is known as the Samjazi. And I think this is very interesting because she makes reference in the Voyagers to the Samjazi energy. And if you look that up, that is actually a name of of a being that has been, others have said they have contacted as a Pleiadian here upon the planet. We want to know on a deep level that we are always being approached by these beings, and they are going to appear to us and say to us whatever they want us to think about them. But we always want to remember that our heart has the ability to feel soul or no soul, right? It has the ability to feel Christic or not Christic. And sure, we've had these J seals on us for a really long time, which made us easy targets, gullible, easy to trick, easy to deceive, always giving the benefit of the doubt. Well, if I try harder, well, they're really good on the inside, right? uh, how many of you have been in relationships where you really made excuses for a long time before you finally went, I think I'm the one that needs to get out of this, right? So within this, we want to know that they're going to be connected to the dove, the white eagle, the phoenix grid, the serpent grid. There's a falcon grid, a dragon grid. These are all different APIN systems that they put in. I'm going to tell you, you can already tell we've gone pretty long on this video. I'm not going to go crazy long into all of those, but I do have here Voyagers 2, page 422, that you can actually tap into these. So that if you wanted to read a little bit more about it and kind of understand now at a different level. I do want to just kind of I did add a couple of these just so that we can see. So now we're talking about the Rigelian Zeta Grays. So, here we're going to get to see that these groups refused Guardian treaties. They have no intention of playing with the Guardian forces or joining Christic forces. They're from a solar system that orbits the star Rigel. And just to kind of remember, they aren't originally even from there, but they overtook that system. Okay, they are frequently called the Rigelians, but they call them, I guess, the Fushi. This isn't a term I'm very familiar with, but they really work with the governments on Earth, and they have orchestrated something referred to as the Zeta Seal. The Zeta Seal is a seal that has been in our heart as kind of like a cube or a block system, and they've also worked manipulations within the sun. They are the most aggressive and militant of the Zeta Gray races and are extremely dangerous to humans because they often attempt to present themselves as guardians in order to seduce humans into being their earthly operatives. Okay, that's coming from Voyagers 2, page 137. If you want to read more, I'm getting a question here. Can we protect ourselves from or deflect those grays. Absolutely. I definitely feel that this is something that we can definitely do. The more that we know about it, the more that we know their frequencies and their tactics. This is where I really feel it's important for us to be harnessing the crystal rivers, the crystal river prayer. If you want to even look on YouTube, there's quite a few beautiful souls that they sing it or they say it, or if you want to read it. But basically, it's an invitation for the crystal waters to flow through. But basically, what we are doing is we are inviting the uh, aquafarian technologies to begin to operate within our system. So remember, all of these are frequencies or crystalline technologies. We are an advanced bioregenesis crystalline technology. Our body is. And so when you start to realize, oh, you're just really an advanced, if you will, organic crystalline template, then you can start to harness the aquarium matrix, and this is in the Andromedan mother galaxy. If you want to just kind of imagine tuning into the mother arc energy and the aquarium matrix, you would be starting to tap into the solar frequencies and the crystalline technologies from that system. And as you bring that energy in, there's so many beautiful ways to imagine it, sense it. You know, the way the guardians work with me is that they show me all of these things and then they take me back to these materials like the Voyagers and sometimes the updates from Lisa Renee and things like this as a validation. Or I actually have an you know a beautiful soul in the group, in the soul circle group, that her gift is being a validation for me as well, to basically, many times as I share these processes, will validate, oh, that sounds like this kind of process, or oh, that sounds like this energy, and I'll be like, oh, thank you guys. So what they really show is that your heart, in your heart template, is a crystalline portal, and that when you learn how to activate it, becomes like a direct path or a doorway to this energy. You start to get to have the perspective that your body is really the temple housing this portal or this doorway, kind of like the way, say, a pyramid might be built around a portal system in order to guard it and protect it. And then there would be temple guardians that would then be the attendants and take care and monitor who comes in and out and make sure there's reverence when you interact with this portal. Well, guess who the temple guardian is? That's you. You're the temple guardian of this temple that is your body, that is protecting the stargate within your heart. And when you really get that heart activated to these crystalline frequencies, I have been finding tremendous love of just massive waves of Christic love, amplifying more than I felt ever in this lifetime. The more that we run these currencies, because it now projects out into the field, and it begins to neutralize a lot of these intruder races forces. So, I hope that does give a little bit more of a sense of peace or comfort or hope, because I do know it's very challenging right now as we're feeling the shift of the energies and these technologies getting shut down. um, and there's a question, can you put these slides in a PDF on your site? Yeah, I would be very happy to. I will definitely download it and share it that way. So the Jehovian Anunnaki, this is the one I kind of really wanted to talk about, because we talk about this a lot. This is very controversial because there's obviously religions that really worship the Jehovian energy. This is something that can be really triggering. And what we want to kind of look at is, who are these beings? Well, these are beings that are hybrids. They're hybrids from the Anu, who basically, specifically, during not only the Templar Wars and these kinds of things, but they basically hybridized with the Melchizedek lineage lines. And so these are basically Anu. So let me kind of back up. The Jehovian uh, Anunnaki are very much connected to the Arcturian and the aquatic or the dolphin or the violet ray lineage lines. Okay. And so when we look at these vibrational energies, she's tying in a few different races. There's Jehovian Anunnaki, Luciferian Anunnaki, and Omicron, Odedicron, and Zephilium, or the Zeta Draconian Reptilian Fallen Angelics, right? Like I said, it's a mouthful. Um, but what we want to kind of take it down into is that we got these forces. So the Jehovian Anunnakis are from Sirius A. Okay, so when we talk a lot about Sirius A and Sirius B, and how Sirius A had a lot of the invader forces that came in, overrode the law of one teachings, and fought to take over the halls of Amenti and the Amenti stargates to take over access, especially in Giza in Egypt, and to begin, and that's really what exasperated the whole Atlantean cataclysm and all of that stuff. But these beings are Arcturian Anunnaki. Okay. And so within that, they do have inheritances to some of the aquatic or the dolphin lineage lines that are connected to 11D. And when you look at this vibration, we want to get really kind of a deeper understanding of recognizing that almost all of these different Anunnaki uh, shoot offs, there's so many different kinds, they do have at a core base template some origin point within a Christic race at some point in time. And then they even created Anu, Melchizedek, Illuminati human hybrid races, and then those become the bloodline families that they put in place to control the earth in their place while they weren't here anymore. So when we look at this, we want to know that they didn't all get along. So you can see in this next one, the competing Luciferian covenant and the Jehovian Anunnaki Dominion agendas both hold at their core the intention of using Solar Stargate 4. So this is going to be really connected to Nibiruan. We're going to see that Nibiru at one point in time was actually a Christic planetary system, right? But then it fell. It fell into the invader forces. So the Nibiruan Anunnaki had seized control of Solar Stargate 4 from the Everil Covenant Guardian race. And this again is at that 25,500 BC. So that fall or that attack that was happening on the Golden Eagle grid. Okay. So at which time they used the battle star Nibiru to force Earth's Templar into an artificial alignment with the planet Nibiru. Oh, and I apologize. I don't have the page number on here. I do believe is around page 417, something like that. If you wanted to do that, or just grab some of these words and type them into the search for Voyagers 2, you can dive into that story a little bit more. So I wanted you to see a little bit about these intruder races. They all have a completely different agenda. They all have their own desires to control for their own purpose. They all have their own hybrid races and their own children lineage lines that they favor more than the others. And each one they really have a desire for immortality, to not lose their consciousness, because they know they don't hold the 12 strands of DNA. And part of that means that they want to attack us, because if we succeed, and I say it this way because this has been their words, if they succeed, they're going to be better than us. Because we have the ability to hold the 12 strand template and they don't. So they've always recognized that when the angelic human races really get past a particular point of evolution into galactic guardianship roles, that we have the ability to become a far more advanced race line or species than they feel they are. And that's their judgment. We're not putting judgment. There is no better than or less than in creation, but that's something that they're coming up with. And that's one of the reasons why they abuse us so much and treat humans so badly. So within this, I want to now hop forward in time as far as this goes. And there's actually, I have this here. But I just want you to know we're gonna be looking at something that was 3 million years ago. But first, let's look at here. So the white lion grid got placed, and then the golden eagle grid got placed, right? So those were in place. The guardian forces were taking care of the Earth. Well, the Zeta Rigelians decided, no, we're going to get involved with this too. And then we also have what is the Omicron Draconian or the Dragon Moth race lines, right? And these are going to be beings from Alnitak and Alnilam within Orion. So these are also connected to the belt of Orion, and they really began an occupation at the end of the Anu occupation, just prior to the Inner Earth Rebellion. Okay, they decided we're getting in the game too. Yeah, you guys got your tags on this Earth, but you know what? We want this Earth. And so we want to recognize that this is really kind of a time in history where the guardian race lines of the dragon energy got distorted. And we know that the sacred dragon lineage lines then started in our consciousness by these antichristic or intruder dragon. And let's look at it this way: as we look at them as dragon moths or dracons or draconians or Seekar, however you want to kind of look at these different beings. I'm sure there's so many more names to them than we even know here on Earth. But as you look at this, we're going to look at that these were once a Christic race line that fell into to distortion. They fell into phantom matrix. They fell into being overrun by viruses within their consciousness field and their DNA, which began to create aggressiveness within them, lack of emotion, lack of empathy, basically making them like psychopaths, is the word I'm looking for, which just have no remorse to the pain or suffering or others, and sometimes maybe even being fascinated by the pain and suffering of others. And so 75,000, and I have an extra zero in there, you guys, but what I wanted to say is that there are so many energies within our template that is like, well, are dragons good or are dragons bad? And there's so much of going like, oh, well, I'm so connected to the dragons. But then even when you read the Stellar Nations, right? Then it's like, oh, the dragons went so dark and so bad. And we want to remember that they are really, truly guardian and grid template holders. And they were really infiltrated by these viruses that came from these other systems. And when they did, they started to become race lines and species that began to, like a virus, attack the living Christic system of this universal time matrix. And within that, what we really want to do is remember that somewhere within all that has even the inkling of a Christic template, that we may need to drop the body in order to save the spark. I'll just put it that way, but I just wanted to put this in here. This was another grid that was put into place. This one really was an energy that was about starting to create the one world order on this planetary system. So this was something that started to also create what was called the unified intruder races, or unified intruder resistance, I think is what it's called in the Voyagers. And what that is that a bunch of these anti-Christics started going like, well, I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back, and we'll help each other until, it's going to be time for me to get rid of you, and then I'll get rid of you. They kind of are like, we'll work together until I don't need you, and then I'll kill you. That's their attitude that they really have. So I just wanted to put that in. We're not going to go too deep. I want to now just tie into this, and I'm going to go a little bit faster now because I want to kind of end with this. This has been a lot already. So now we think of it, the Illuminati, the one world order. It's really going to be a collaboration of multiple different intruder races at this point that have been involved with this. But now I want to kind of hop back, and we're going to hop back in time to 3 million years ago. And 3 million years ago, when Nibiru was within the Guardian Alliance, and it was an Emerald Covenant planet, The founders there came and placed 24 Nibiruan crystal temple bases upon the earth. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because these are the ones that basically got targeted. Not all of them got reversed, but a lot of them got reversed and utilized as part of the programming templates for instigating and keeping the Jehovian seals in place upon the planet. Okay, so 3 million years ago, the founders placed the 24 Nibiruan crystal temple bases upon the planet. Some were Q sites, some were stargates. I want to differentiate between these. Now, this picture, this 3 pictures over here, just to know that this is from energetic synthesis. I use this picture a lot. Lisa Renee created this, and it's amazing. It's the interface between the planetary, the galactic, and the universal. So it shows us the planetary placements on Earth corresponding to the planets in our solar system, corresponding to the planet or to the fixed stars that we are connected to. Now, just to know, Q sites are inner Earth stargates. So when we talked about that book, I think again it's The Etheric Crystal by Radu Sinamar, and I do want to say it's book 7, but it goes into these stargates, and some of these stargates actually are on the surface of the planet, so they'll take you interplanetary from one location to another. Some of them will take you from this location to another location in our solar system. Some of them will take you from this location to another location in the universe. Q sites are a little bit different. Q sites are the doorways or kind of the portals, and they're inner Earth stargates, if we want to call them that way. They're inner Earth, and you need to first have access to the Q sites in order to then have access to the stargates that they correspond to. And that would be a whole other presentation to go into that. But I wanted to just let you know, this is how complex all of these keys and locks and systems and stargates are, because it's again, it's advanced crystalline technology working with the body of the Earth. And we want to now recognize that within this, there was an Anu occupation. So they basically filtered in, came in, occupied the Earth. They came in from Sirius A. These were also the Arcturian, Jehovian Anunnakis, and their attempt was to take over Earth, to launch genocide programs against the angelic humans. They basically wanted to wipe us out. They wanted to kind of get rid of everybody else, right? This is also a time when there was a mass kind of uniting. So there's different factions. We have the Sirius A and the Arcturian Jehovian Anunnaki. They're attempting to take over the Earth, right? And then you have basically the Draconian, the Nephilim, the Nibiruan, Anu, Anunnaki, and the Earth races. Then there's Enlil, Enki, Marduk, Pleiadian, Nibiruan, Anunnaki lines. And they all start to unite in order to try to overthrow these Jehovians and then seize over Earth. So they weren't trying to overthrow them to help Earth. They were trying to overthrow them because they were like, no, 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 no. We want to take over those crystals, right? What they wanted was to overtake all of this crystalline technology that was on the planet, use it for themselves so that they could siphon off the energy for whether it was their planetary system, whether it was their phantom Earth system, for whatever. They just wanted to harness it in order to basically utilize and to annihilate any of the forces that would have stopped them from doing it. So we want to know about these Nibiruan crystal temple bases. There are 24 of them. I don't have on here, I wish I would have had a little more time. I would have put on here which ones got overthrown or reversed. I know one of them was Portugal. I think Pakistan was another one. We know there's a lot of wars in Iran, Iraq within here, but if you can look at this, you can get to see the different crystal bases. And remember, some of them are Q sites, some of them are stargates, some of them are both. And within this, these are key places around the planet that the Guardians have been primarily focused in order to protect these places and to keep them out of the hands of the intruder races. So these will all be one way or another, places we may get connected to. And then there's all these other places. I know we've been talking about Norway a lot lately and things like this. And so my goal is to get a more comprehensive way where we can start to see the maps. I've actually ordered from the ARIA site. I put it off for a long time, but I ordered their largest map they have. um just to really look maybe in a little bit more detail to a lot of the stargates, the Q sites, and then to be able to put that up with the aquifers and the crystalline caverns and things like this that we get to connect to as the Aquari races are working with us now, to know that these things are important for sure, but we also have aqueous matrix. So again, Andromedan Mother Galaxy matrix technologies that are coming online that are helping us either rehabilitate or override some of these negative discrepancies on this planet and create whole new passageways for us to get out of here. So we're learning this so that we know it in our history, we know it in our body, so we can delete it, clear it, and let it go, because there is nothing here to bind us anymore. You have the right to be soul and sovereign and free. You have the right, whether you choose to glide or slide, whether you choose to glide your soul at the time of death and to move through your bardo chamber safely through, or whether you choose to glide where you may be one of the ones that does the work necessary to take your entire body template with you. We have the divine right to be free. What is our mission if in one of these places? I would say, and again, this is going to be for you to tap into more, but it would be really to be one of the Crystal River template holders there, to do everything possible to amplify your Aura Fem template of your 48D crystalline strands within in order to allow more currency to flow. We want to get rid of the crucifixion implants on the hands. We want to get rid of the crucifixion implants on the feet so you can run cleaner healing energy through your hands, cleaner energy through your connection to the earth. And this is the massive thing that that they're calling all of us. This would be something we would do through a seal clearing. And just, within that, what we want to do is go through one more time and let's just clear all of those out. We want to clear all the crown of thorns, the crucifixion seals, the ones in the palms, the feet. We want to get rid of all of the black hearts that have been cubed, the Zeta seals, the draconian seals. There's a whole list of them. And the more that we're going in there and continuously unplugging, what we're doing is we're utilizing high crystalline technology frequencies, which are symbols, which are light language, and which are tones, which allow us to unbind and dissipate their tech out of our system so that we can be free. So if I was to ask what is the purpose for being in one of these places, it would be to be one of the grid holders, to hold the energy. And I do find that interesting, even for so many of you that I know that do hold energy in these different places. Um, the Maharic shield. Yes, the Maharic shield, and I would invite you to amplify that up. I feel that it was interesting because I really organically felt like in the last few years that it wasn't enough. It wasn't working. It wasn't enough. They were asking us to amplify it up, to at least amplify it up to 48D, kind of more of an Aura Fem template or a Eucharistic template. But they were also really encouraging us to run Christos energy from our heart sphere, emanate that out. So they were having us change it up a little bit. And I think that was because we were really coming in alignment to the aqueous matrix and those technologies that were coming through. So I do feel in a lot of ways it's amplifying up. This is just my personal opinion of it as I've been working with these energies. So I definitely would love for you to hear as you play with this and start to bring in new frequencies into your fields and your shields. How's that working for you? This is something we got to just support each other through. So within this, just very quickly, I do want to just touch on what is a checkered board mutation. because this is the key kind of to everything within there. This is the key to how they overtook Stonehenge. So, this is really at that same time. So the overtaking of that eagle grid in 500 BC, this Luciferian rebellion, Stonehenge, um, uh, this dyadic crystal grid there got kind of an installed an overlay over it by the Nibiruan, sorry, Anunnaki. So the golden eagle APIN got taken over by the Necromatron Andromi Nephilim. So this Archangel Michael energy Anunnaki hybrid collective, creating a reverse matrix, or the white eagle APIN, and the Michael Mary, what is miasmic turnstile. So it's a Templar control system. So think of it this way, because this is all, honestly, it can get so complicated when you read these signs. Checkerboard mutation. Remember, these APIs come in and they create like a grid. They create like a net to hold everything together. Well, the checkerboard mutations means that they came in and overtook these grids at key points and then could put reversals on them. So think about a checkerboard. You have white squares and black squares. So they went in and started turning a bunch of them in reversal. So it'd be like some were white and some were black. If you can just kind of think of it that way. That's also why the Masons use the checkerboards in their initiation rooms and things like that, is because they actually really totally know about these checkerboard mutations. So what they did is within this, it was new implants into our DNA. This was absolute annihilations. This is also, remember, this was the time of that fragmentation of the souls, that electric wars. What did it do? The Amenti had to clear back out. We created a splitting where fragments of souls went down into, say, the 2D and the 4D layers. So these phantom souls, soul fragments, we got disconnected from our emotional body, our mental body, and our astral body. So as that happened, we got implanted. And here's a really great explanation from Lisa Renee, was saying that as the core manifestation template of the human body descended further into the lowest dimensional fields, the physical body became 66.66% denser than the original natural blueprint. We know that carbon is a 666 base system. So it basically, we became carbon-based beings. we became implanted with the death seal, and the cycles of losing our connection to the eternal flame at that point, in the way that would perpetuate the ascension. Because remember, it was the wall in time, the fence had to get put in. So now there was a literal cut, or a shutting, or a sealing out of energy. So we became disconnected from our ability to become whole at that time. Now, within this is the implants of death seals. This is the implants of disease. This is the implants of mental distortions, thought to mind. This is the implants of divide and conquer. This is going to be the implants of starting to implant crucifixion seals. Any of these distortions, it really started to dislocate us from our pineal gland, from our ability to connect to our higher layers of eternal consciousness, and to become easy to mind control through broadcasted frequencies that they were controlling through their satellites and technologies. So Stonehenge was a huge player because it became the portal doorway that created a tether from Earth to the phantom matrix Earth, and where Earth could begin to pull on the energy of Earth. And from there, this is where just kind of a lot of the seed of this energy really seeded and took place. So again, you can look this stuff up if you wanted to just look up these tag terms in the Ascension Glossary to read more about it. So the final thing I just want to show within here, because this is a lot, and you guys, bless you for hanging on with me here. We have now the dove grid, and this is a combination of a dove grid and a serpent grid. Now, this is again coming at 25,500 BC. So, this is why I've said over and over, and that's why I put in the title that for approximately 30,000 years that we have been controlled by these J seals. So we're seeing that all these things are happening right at this 25,500 BC timeline. Okay. So at this timeline, now you got the Pleiadian Nibiruan Anunnaki that say, screw that, I'm putting my tag mark on the planet. And they put the serpent APIN on. And then you have also they wanted to create, there's the Samjazi Luciferian and the Nibiruan Toth Enki Zephilim and the Enlil Odedicron. They decided they wanted to put their stamp on, and they put the Phoenix APIN system on the planet. That was around 10,500 BC, right? But then we have over here what is primarily the main thing for the Jehovah's seals, which is the dove. And you can see that all of these symbologies really play out in biblical texts and the mythologies that we have been told, you know, the dove symbology, the serpent symbology, um you know, the taming of the lion analogies and all of these things. So we have over here the dove and olive branch APN Jehovian. It was created 25,500 BC. This is connected to the 7 Jehovian seals, and it was created by the Jehovian Anunnaki bipedal dolphin people of Phantom Sirius A, Arcturus, Orion. Okay, so now you get this. We want to recognize, you know, and this is where this discernment is. It's been challenged for me doing starseed readings and doing my best to really still imply to everyone, you need to use your discernment. If you're connected to the Arcturians, by all means. The Christic Arcturians are amazing. They are just incredible beings. You feel it in your heart. They have tremendous wisdom to help us reset energy. But we also want to recognize that we always have to do discernment. Any beings you connect with, command in that moment, show me your true form. Are you in alignment to the Christic light? Yes or no? Ask them, vet them, challenge them. Really, really, really put them for the paces. And I will tell you, in all honesty, the guardian forces will smile. They will be so proud of you. They will like just, their heart will just expand, and they will be more than happy to show you authentically. Whereas if it is an intruder being or an antichristic being and you challenge their projection that they're showing to you, they get pissed. They get ugly really, really fast. And so this is where we get to start to learn you have all the tools you need right inside of you to deal with all of this crazy chaos that's been going on. Now, these Jehovian seals basically have been run, they are um, instigated by technologies that are primarily within what are known as the 7 trumpets. But these are basically sound technologies or frequencies that are held within different layers and bands, and they all correspond to different places upon the planet and also different locations within your body, all held within the 7th axitonial line of your body. So within this, what they've done is they've gone in and created reversal Merkaba or a reversal cone spin at different vortex points within the body so that it would create a disruption or a disconnect or a dis-ease within our body. And as the frequencies would get released and activated into the planetary body, it would then exasperate things within our body and we would feel it, right? As the stellar activation cycle started to activate. So, what it means is that if we didn't clear out these Jehovian seals before the stellar activation cycle, it would say that it would kill, it would basically, our body would not be able to handle it. And in the same way, the earth has to be ready, our body has to be ready. So this is where we want to go in. And as we get to recognize that these trumpets, if you will, or these sound technologies are getting thwarted by these things called chevrons at this point, which are other sound tones or frequencies that are disbanding these things, we still want to go in and clear out these technologies, these that have been embedded within our genetics and our layers of our system so that we don't get affected by it anymore. And I'm going to do this at another one. I'm going to just actually turn this into another one because this one emotionally means a lot to me. When we start to talk about the Lemurian pylon implant systems, we're actually going to look at not only the four faces of man, which is connected to the Easter Islands, um, but this is also going to be creating a connection to the Aani, the Indigos, the massacres that happened at that time. And we just want to know that, you know, as this was happening, crisis intervention was happening. So this is where a massive pulse for the Indigo lineages to really start um, coming into play. But the one that really, I just, you know, I'm excited to dive into it more with you guys is the Blue Oxen LPN. This is the one that I really feel it's not only connected to India, and I want to show it over here because it's the sacred blue cow or the blue oxen, APIN. And it was overrun by the Anunnaki and the Anunnaki Andromedan or Andromi Nephite intruder APNs. And this one, it's intense because it was one of the ones that took the biggest fall or the hardest hit. And we know that even through our sacred Hathor lineage lines, the Hathors are a created race line that was specifically created with hybridized genetics in there in order to begin to really be the rehabilitation. It was again another Christos mission and a plan. And I'm excited to actually pull some of the energies out of the Voyagers to tie in the Hathors information in there, and also to give a lot of love to how many of the Hathors got stuck in hibernation zones. Which means that because this blue oxen APIN got so heavily attacked, we lost a lot of the guardian forces that got pulled into these. And you know, this is just again, you can kind of maybe even feel the emotion that I have around wanting to give it a little more honor than just a footnote at the end of this. So with that, I just want to now just end with this so that you can know the J seals are basically embodied unnatural Jehovian seals that activate as the different planetary seals activate during a stellar activation cycle when the halls of Amenti start to come closer and closer to Earth. The 7 planetary seals activate with the riders upon them. So the reason why I say that is because whenever you look at this information let me just come back over here. Whenever you look at this information, especially within the Keylontic information, it's always going to show it being connected to the 4 horsemen. So I'm actually going to show you guys this manual really quick. And what we want to see within here is that we have something called the riders, and the Jehovian seals ride on these energies, and they are connected to very particular places upon the planet. So we got J seal 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, these are connected to different coordinates upon the planet that are meant to that basically ride these sonic waves as a projection technology. And as the energy rides into it, it activates these energies within the Earth's natural 12-star or 12-star crystal seals. Okay, so those Nibiruan dyadic crystals that were placed. And as that happens, then the stargates and the axitonial lines begin to activate with them. Okay, now within this, we know that they were implanted, sealed, or hijacked so that our body doesn't naturally activate the way it's supposed to through these energy fields. And this again is coming from the 24 elders before the throne equals representation of the fallen angelic Jehovian Anu Elohim forefathers of the Anunnaki Nibiruan Council of 24, which was controlled by Jehovian pure strain bipedal dolphin people Anunnaki overlords. Again, these are connected to these Arcturian hybridized races. So within this, as we look at this vibrational energy, these have been getting shut down. The riders, the horses, if you will, have gotten stopped or shut down. And as that moves, then we begin to clear, and we're going to realize the dates that are on here obviously were from the first attempt for the stellar activation cycle to happen in 2012, which didn't happen. They had to shut it down all really quick. So again, that video, we talked about it a little bit with the J seals and what's happening with them. We're going to talk more about the current stuff, and we'll keep talking about it. But what I want you to look at is, don't pay attention to the year 2001 and these kind of thing in here, but primarily where are they located? And they are all located on the left-hand side of the body. Again, it's just a same grid, just a little bit of a different picture. We get to see them. And as they move through the left-hand side of the body, they're always going to be on axitonial line 7, okay? And they ride up axitonial line 7. And as they move through, then it's also connected to the crucifixion, or the nails in the palms of the hands, the nails in the feet, and then the crown of thorns in the head. So I just wanted to show that to you. I'll just actually show this right in here. This is the Maharic energy as far as the Kudara sequence. There's actually more to it than this. It's not in this document. But as we work with these technologies and these energies, we are having the opportunity, you guys, to be sovereign and free, to activate our Christic templates again. That we want to just know that we have been in the middle of this big galactic gang war, and there's all these different gangs out there, all these different hybridized races. And in truth, they think that, they want to annihilate us because they don't want us to become the powerful beings that we can be. We will only become powerful through Christic energies. I want to be clear on that. If we embody any of their tactics, we just become one of them. So there is no way to fight them. All we need to do is be that crystal river within our heart. So with so much love, you guys, thank you so much for letting me share this with you. I wanted to show you where they came from, a little bit of their history, some of what the wars have been going on in a different perspective, so that now as you embrace this, you can sit and go man, I am done with all of those timelines, and we want to pull them out of our body so that we don't have to keep recycling those miasms or those pain signatures, and that you can begin now to do all the work. We want to focus 100%. For those of you that work with me that have been listening to a lot, what is my passion? To learn how to die right, that we can accelerate our energy, that we can create our Bardo chambers in a way that we can take our God seed and fully and completely merge again with our universe life, that we don't have to get stuck in this miasm anymore, and that all these cycles of feeling lost, stuck, or blocked is over. We may feel it while we're here in the human body, but what we want to do is always keep that knowing in our heart that we have the absolute intention that we're going home. I love you guys so much, my Christic Star family. Thank you for letting me share this with you. I know this was a long one. So with so much love, we will follow up on this more as we continue through this series of talking more about this, and eventually weaving in a little bit more to some of the stellar nations, because I want to tell those stories to you